This is like firing the referee because you don't like the final score of a game.
President Trump just fired the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You should be paying attention to this.
Dan, you worked at that agency. 1 to 10, 10 being basically worst case scenario. Where do you put this?
This is about a 9.5 trending to a 10.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Coe. I'm host of the People's Cabinet. I was also Chief of Staff of the Department of Labor, the agency that oversees the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the organization that puts out the jobs report every month. Since the news broke, I've been on CNN, Fox, and MSNBC to talk about how catastrophic this could be.
The world believes deeply in these numbers as part of our integrity as an economy.
This isn't just about firing one person. It's about whether we can ever again trust the data that trillions of dollars are based on every day.
I don't know how we can ever trust the replacement in terms of the jobs indicators going forward with this.
Because the next person Donald Trump appoints can decide whether that data is based on sound economic science or partisan political loyalty. Which one do you think it'll be? Here's why this is important. You're going to hear a lot in the coming days, Trump and other people talk about methodology, how we count the jobs that go into that jobs number. Because they could all of a sudden decide, for example, that part-time or gig workers, like the people who drive Uber and Lyft, all of a sudden should count towards numbers that they currently don't. They could decide they were going to put out a contract because they need help from outside vendors in the private sector to help calculate these numbers. And you bet that some of those vendors are going to be people that are favorable to Trump that would enrich Trump indirectly or even directly. We're going to see all of this confusion economically, both domestically and internationally, about whether those numbers could ever be real or trusted again.
They decide they want to try to do a new kind of data collection and bring in outside vendors to help run it. That leaves tremendous corruption exposure because you're talking about RFPs, certain affiliations with the president could get rich as a result. These are the things that we really need to pay close attention to.
What happens if we can't trust the data that's coming from BLS? I mean, I imagine that portends potentially disastrous outcomes for our understanding of where the economy is.
Trillions of dollars of investment in this country is determined on the full faith and credit of the United States. If all of a sudden people don't trust the government's ability to be honest about this, our dollar becomes weaker, and then the price in which we can pay to acquire our goods becomes that much more expensive for Americans. We saw this. We have evidence of this. Argentina and Turkey were both accused of manipulating their jobs data and economic indicators, and we saw economic calamity as a result.
And on top of that, it actually adds to the deficit even more than Trump already has, because we will need to pay more to borrow more money, which is what we're doing right now. And here's what normally happens, okay? What normally happens is that every month there are hundreds and thousands of businesses and households that are surveyed. It's much like a poll. And that information comes back. The Bureau of Labor Statistics calculates what they see as the number of jobs added or subtracted to the economy that month. That is then published at 8:30 a.m. on a Friday, the first Friday of the new month. 2 days before that is the only time the commissioner sees that data in the beginning. So this notion that she somehow fudged the numbers is just completely inaccurate. The next day, the president is briefed. And then Friday, as I mentioned, at 8:30 a.m., the numbers are released. That is the process. The people who actually run the process are what they're called nonpartisan career officials. These are people who have served Democratic and Republican presidents. Their main focus is to just get the science and the data right, okay? So this whole notion that these revisions are somehow have some kind of political bend just does not withstand any kind of rational logic.
It would have to be a conspiracy of national proportions for something like that to happen.
So what we need to look for next is who the president nominates, what methodology that nominee will espouse. Will they start to look outside for outside contracts? And how quickly does this all happen? I hope you enjoyed this explainer. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment below. I'd be happy to answer them. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. And you may like my interview with Pete Buttigieg that is now live. See you there.